Plaquemines Parish deputy appears to claim one man could be in two places at once, both at the scene of a crash and watching the Super Bowl.
As we uncover in our new investigation, despite what appears to be clear video evidence in the case, the legal battle has dragged on for more than a year. A frequently sanctioned sheriff's deputy swore in an affidavit the person you see in this video is the same person you see here. It just...
What, bro? And this is why, you see, there's no way. You could just, and the thing is, at a glance, you could tell it's different. Hair, body weight, body build. Even though he's sitting down, that's a totally different body build than the person right here.
Person you see in this video is the same person you see here. It just so happens these images were taken at the exact same time of day, nearly 23 miles apart.
I believe it was done maliciously.
So
that deputy told a judge the picture you see now is high-quality video surveillance. Those claims help lead to Jared Folks being arrested, locked up in this cell for nearly 72 straight hours. No shower, no sunlight, little food.
Bro.
I was on concrete for 3 days, didn't get to brush my teeth.
This story starts on Super Bowl Sunday 2022. As the Bengals and Rams began the second quarter, Folks had workers for his construction company finishing up a job in Plaquemines Parish, installing spray foam insulation. And was this an actual employee of yours or a sub?
A subcontractor of mine.
So it didn't even work for your company?
That's correct.
The worker's truck got stuck between the gates of the Park Plaquemines subdivision.
As he goes through the gate swings inward and lodges in between the cab and the flatbed.
Folks says he contacted the general contractor.
Bro.
I said, the gate has malfunctioned. Do you have contact information for the homeowners association? That way we can reach out to him. And he said, I'm at a Super Bowl party. I have an email. I can send it to you in the morning. He said, basically free the truck and we'll contact the, homeowners association and get the repairs done to the truck.
Folks says he emailed the homeowners association, but shortly after heard from a Plaquemines Parish Sheriff's deputy, Vincenzo.
For those of y'all who have an HOA, y'all gotta let me know, right? What are the benefits of an HOA? In every scenario that I hear about an HOA, it's never been good. You gotta have your grass cut a certain size. Your house has to be painted. I guess it's to make sure that the value of everybody else's property doesn't depreciate. But then, y'all gotta let me know. I don't know. I've never lived with an HOA.
And get the repairs done to the truck.
Folks says he emailed the homeowners association, but shortly after heard from a Plaquemines Parish Sheriff's deputy, Vincenzo Sonato.
I got a call. It was from a cell phone number, and I explained to him what happened. I explained to him I was watching the Super Bowl at home, and I explained the steps. I explained that I got the text message. I immediately contacted the general contractor on the job, and I requested the HOA information.
Folks says the deputy asked him to send him text messages.
We got off the phone the first call, and I reached out to my attorney. He said, no, we're not going to send them, private text messages on this. You're the victim. Your company's truck is the victim. So at that point, he called back the following day, and he was pretty aggressive, and he said, I'll have you arrested for hit and run if you don't cooperate in this investigation. I said, well, listen, let me three-way in, my attorney, and that way, we could discuss it. At that point, he said, oh, you're uncooperative, hung up the phone.
A few days.
He didn't want three-way that attorney because he knew he was wrong. That's it. He's trying to get. I don't know if the HOA is putting pressure on him to make sure that an arrest happens, or I don't know. It could be retaliatory because you didn't reply, which would still be weird. I've never seen a situation where people are texting deputies from like the cell and it's for a gate malfunctioning and closing on a van. I've never seen that. For a murder and things of that sort, I would understand. But for something this minor, I'm not really getting.
At that point, he said, oh, you're uncooperative, hung up the phone.
A few days later, Deputy Sonato secured this arrest warrant. Again, here's the video Plaquemines Parish is using to prove its case.
6 feet 220. Nothing on this man right here says 220. This may be 6 feet, but 220 it is not. 220. It is not. They don't. The weight in the video,
They say this is Jared Folks and proves Jared Folks drove his work truck, adding the incident was captured in high-quality video surveillance. He even wrote Folks told him he was in a hurry to get home to watch the Super Bowl. Problem is, Folks said he never told the deputy that. Instead, Folks said he wasn't the driver, and he was actually in Kenner watching the Super Bowl at the time of the incident. Here's video of Folks in his office in Kenner. There's the timestamp. You can even see the Super Bowl playing in the right corner. Zoom in at 6:38, 1 minute after the incident. You can see Folks watching Matthew Stafford throw a touchdown to Cooper Kupp. The deputy certified under oath these facts are false and instead swore this person is Jared Folks.
Is it clear to you that that's not your client?
Without a doubt, it's a brown-skinned gentleman. I mean, it's, darker skin is hard to tell from their video, but my client is almost 6 feet tall and he's bald. And this gentleman had dark hair, dark complected, and had a beard and mustache. And again, they were both dark black.
Yet the deputy swore your client was on the scene.
Yes, sir.
And this is what we have to stop doing with police. We have to remember that police officers are people as well. We always want to remember that they're people when something bad happens to them. But when they inflict aggravation and harm on other people, we have to remember that they're people as well. People lie, people steal, people cheat. So just because you're a police officer, that does not absolve you from doing unmoral things, unmoral actions. Immoral, unethical. Doing things that aren't right. Let me say it like that. He's still a person.
We're both dark black.
Yet the deputy swore your client was on the scene.
Yes, sir. Well, let me back this up. He had to, because the crime of hit and run driving necessitates that somebody who committed that crime, that the driver of the vehicle that committed that crime.
The investigating deputy, Vincenzo Sonato, has a history of misconduct on the job. In 2020 and 2021, he served 5 separate suspensions, totaling 7 days for violations on the job.
You know what's crazy, bro? And this is what aggravates me about the police. This is what aggravates me to my core about the police. You or I get suspended 5 days or 5 different times from our job. We're fired. We are fired, and we don't have nearly as much power as a police officer. A police officer can change your whole entire life, your whole entire life trajectory. And it could be warranted, and it very well could be unwarranted. Right? They have that kind of power over you. And yet they could get chance after chance to be redeemed after redemption after redemption after redemption arc. And it's crazy to me. With great power is supposed to come great responsibility. So with that being said, if we know that, I feel like the consequences should be harsher. You have too much power. You knowingly have too much power to be this careless. You know what I'm saying? To be this, I don't even know what to call it. Corrupt? You have too much power. You have the ability to change to affect too many lives. It's crazy.
Of misconduct on the job. In 2020 and 2021, he served 5 separate suspensions, totaling 7 days for violations on the job. In one case, he got into an argument with a supervisor. In another, drove 80 miles per hour in a 45 mile per hour zone during inclement weather with a suspect in the back seat. And one...
Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, that you do that. You're going to jail. What did he get? What was that? What was the penalty?
The supervisor. In another, drove 80 miles per hour in a 45 mile per hour zone during...
He got counseling one day. He could have killed not only himself, but the person in the back. Say the person in the back is, I don't know, he's in handcuffs for what? Say, I don't know, say he gets into a fist fight on the street and he gets arrested for battery, I guess, right? We say he gets arrested for battery. He's in Officer Vincenzo's car. He's going 80 in a 45 in inclement weather. He crashes the car. They both die. Now, my life is gone. My family life is affected because you wanted to go 80 in a 45 in inclement weather, and you only get counseling and 1-day suspension.
And
Crazy.
another drove 80 miles per hour in a
Crazy.
45 mile per hour zone during inclement weather, with a suspect in the back seat. And one, Sonato backed into a vehicle, then left without telling the owner or
Hit and
reporting
run.
the incident. Sonato's also lost his take-home car privileges multiple times, including once when he ran a red light, driving over 100 miles per hour without lights or sirens
100 miles
on the
per
way to a
hour.
call. Since 2020, he's had another 8 separate complaints that were unfounded or where he was exonerated, including 3 this year. Plaquemines Parish Sheriff Jerry Turlich owned a house in the subdivision where the incident took place. He sold it less than a month before the arrest. The Plaquemines Parish Sheriff declined to comment, citing a pending case, but in response to the prior sanctions against Deputy Sonato, a spokesperson wrote they do not have any bearings in this investigation and do not.
For Officer Vincenzo, the whole department needs to be investigated. They say one rotten apple spoils the bunch. There's the reason why Officer Vincenzo is able to do what he wants because they have proven to him time and time again that he can do what he wants with little to no punishment. Keep in mind, I was in the rain in a thunderstorm driving 80 in a 45 with somebody handcuffed in the back of my seat. I drove to a call and ran red lights at over 110 miles per hour and nothing happened to me. I've had 8 other cases. And for something to stick against a police officer, it has to be concrete evidence. Concrete, like beyond a shadow of a doubt. Because they investigate themselves. They're not going to find any wrongdoing. The 8 other incidents, like I said, the police department to its core is rotten. It's rotten. This is why I feel like when you sue a police department, when you sue officers, it should be them personally. The taxpayers should not. That would cut a lot of this foolishness out. And then once you get fired as an officer, you cannot be rehired. You can't be rehired. That would cut a lot of this foolishness
Citing
out.
a pending case, but in response to the prior sanctions against Deputy Sonato, a spokesperson wrote they do not have any bearings in this investigation and do not put any questions into his competency or credibility as a deputy with PPSO.
Of course they
His
don't.
sanctions were based on performance issues that were not related to his investigative abilities or competency.
How has this not been thrown out yet?
I don't know. I don't control the DA's office in Plaquemines Parish. And
all work
according to
together.
them, they screen the cases and they evaluate them based on the screening and make a decision.
Folks lives in Kenner. In February of 2022, Plaquemines asked Kenner police to arrest him. The charges, both misdemeanors, hit and run, and for not having insurance, even though Folks claims he has it. Kenner police placed Folks in this holding cell over President's Day weekend until Plaquemines Parish picked him up and he was able to bond out.
That's the old two-party two-step, oldest trick in the book. That makes you sit for the whole weekend, and you really can't get out because you have to have 2 different jurisdictions, quote, bond you out or release you.
That lawsuit.
And so what
is
they
about to
did was
be-
kind of dirty to this guy to make him
lawsuit-
sit for 2 or 3 days in jail.
This is on purpose to arrest him that day to make him sit through the weekend.
I mean, I've been seeing it for 30 years.
Fox 8 legal analyst Joe Raspani says the video evidence shows the deputy gave a false statement in the affidavit.
Well, you're not supposed to swear out an affidavit that you know not to be true. So if he's swearing out a false affidavit for a arrest warrant, that's not kosher.
You know, it's like a spoiled kid. When you give a spoiled kid, when you start spoiling the kid and they start wanting more and more and more, you give someone an inch, they'll eventually take a mile. This is what this officer is doing. This is what he's doing. Just inch by inch, it's getting a little bit more out of control, a little bit more corrupt, just doing a little bit, just incident by incident by incident, because this is crazy. And what you end up doing is costing the taxpayers, because they're the ones who are going to have to foot this bill, this lawsuit. And if, I think his name was Jared, if I'm the person that's been arrested, it's going to be a hefty lawsuit, because I'm coming for every cent that I can. Because this is stupid. This whole situation is stupid. And it just shows, it just puts like a big light on the justice system. Because
affidavit
really
for a arrest warrant,
the list that
that's not kosher. I don't get why they would almost purposefully inculpate themselves into a bad allegation like that. If it clearly shows that he wasn't there.
We emailed the DA's office for comment. At the time, they couldn't because of a pending case. But 3 weeks after we started asking questions, the DA's office dropped the charges.
Of course
that same day, though, folks was served with papers, a civil lawsuit brought by the subdivision.
So I walked into the courtroom, was hoping to get the case dismissed. The case was dismissed, and I had an officer waiting there to serve me additional papers for damages. I definitely thought it was going to be behind me.
The civil suit cites many of the false findings in the arrest warrant. Fox 8 legal analyst Joe Raspani says the investigating officer, Sonato, should face his own investigation and possibly sanctions based on those false findings. Folks filed a federal lawsuit against the Plaquemines Parish Sheriff and Deputy Sonato for false arrest and imprisonment, saying the facts in this case show the Plaquemines Parish Sheriff had a reckless disregard for the truth.
It's a major disruption to, my business, my daily life, and just also hanging over my head, because
financially too.
At any point, they have the footage to show that it wasn't me.
We reached out to the attorney for the Parks of Plaquemines Subdivision Homeowners Association. In a statement, Jacob Bro said our firm has had and has no involvement in the criminal matter and is unable to comment on such. As to the civil lawsuit, it was filed to preserve the property.
Wait, that's a homeowner association? Our firm has had no involvement in such criminal matter. And then who served him? Y'all sued him. Y'all serving him the papers.
Unable to comment on such. As to the civil lawsuit, it was filed to preserve the property damage claim of the Park Homeowners Association for the costs of repair of its gate. To date, we have been provided nothing from Airtight Construction LLC or Mr. Folks. The spokesperson for the Plaquemines Parish Sheriff's Office sent another response late this evening regarding Folks' arrest that says in part his refusal to cooperate in the investigation hindered his ability and responsibility as a business owner to mitigate the situation. Although the hit and run charges was dropped against Mr. Folks, this does not necessarily absolve his criminal involvement and culpability in this incident, because it is a fact that it was Mr. Folks' company vehicle. That is still an ongoing investigation.
So if that doesn't absolve me, why they drop the charges? Captain, sir, Poobah. If that doesn't absolve me, why did the DA drop the charges? How did I not cooperate? Because I didn't send over the text messages? But like I said, evidently there was a video. Your officer easily could have looked at the video. The surveillance. There's a lot of things. Like I said, this whole incident was stupid. Shows some negligence and, like they said, a reckless disregard for truth. And I hope this whole, I'm gonna look, hold on.
Mr. Folks' company vehicle, that is still an ongoing investigation. In tonight's statement, though, the sheriff's office never addressed why they arrested and charged Folks, even though video evidence shows he wasn't at the scene of the alleged crime.
Let's see. Now let's look up, what's his name? What's his name? Let's see what bro's name is.
Filed a federal law.
Here we go. VINCE. NZO. And I bet he's still on the force. Let's see. Oh, he was reassigned. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. He's still on the force, but just reassigned. And that's just to shut people up. They didn't really want to do that. If this lawsuit had not went to the news and gained traction, he would have still been able to patrol the streets to this day. To this day. Which is crazy to me.